Hello children, welcome to AIMS India's online classes. This is biology session. You are watching Diversity in Plant Kingdom part 5. The plant kingdom includes algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms and angiosperms, isn't it? The algae are chlorophyll bearing, simple, thalloid, autotrophic and largely aquatic organisms. So these algae, depending on the type of pigment and the type of stored food, algae are classified into three classes. What are they? Chlorophyceae, Phaeophyceae and Rhodophyceae. And if you come to the bryophytes, bryophytes are the plants which can live in soil but are dependent on water for sexual reproduction. So their plant body is more differentiated than that of algae. Okay, it is thallus-like and prostate or erect and attached to the substratum by root-like structures called rhizoids. Okay, they possess root-like, leaf-like and stem-like structures, but not a true root, stem or leaves. Okay, the bryophytes are divided into two categories. What are they? Liverworts and mosses. Okay, next in pteridophytes, in the yesterday's class we have studied the main plant is a sporophyte, which is differentiated into true root, stem and leaves. So these organs possess well differentiated vascular tissue. The sporophytes bear sporangia, which produce spores. The spores germinate to form gametophytes, which require cool, damp places to grow. Okay, the gametophytes bear male and female sex organs called antheridia and archegonia. Okay, water is required for the transfer of male gametes to archegonium, and where the zygote is formed after fertilization. The zygote produces again sporophyte. And gymnosperms, if you take, these are the plants in which the ovules are not enclosed by any ovary wall. So after fertilization the seeds remain exposed, and therefore these plants are called as naked seeded plants. The gymnosperms produce microspores and megaspores, which are produced in microsporangia and megasporangia borne on the sporophylls, isn't it? Now angiosperms. The angiosperms, the male sex organs are stamen and the female sex organs are pistil, are born in a flower, and each stamen consists of a filament and anther. The anther produces the pollen grains, that is the male gametophyte after meiosis. The pistil consists of ovary enclosing one to many ovules. Within the ovule is the female gametophyte, or it is called embryo sac, isn't it, which containing the egg cell. The pollen tube enters the embryo sac, where two male gametes are discharged and one male gamete fuses with the egg cell, that is syngamy, and the other fuses with the diploid secondary nucleus, that is called triple fusion. This phenomenon of two fusions is called double fertilization. It is the unique feature of angiosperms. The angiosperms are divided into two classes, dicotyledons and monocotyledons. Okay children, so today we are going to study about the dicots and monocotyledons and the plant life cycles and alternation of generation. We are going to discuss very important concepts. Okay children, are you ready? Let us proceed. Monocots and dicots. Angiosperms are further classified into monocots and dicots. What are angiosperms? Angiosperms are the flowering plants. Okay, these are the modern flowering plants. They are further classified based on the seed structure into monocots and dicotyledons. Monocotyledons means the single cotyledons. They possess the following characteristic feature: single cotyledons, parallel venation, fibrous root system, closed vascular bundles, more number of vascular bundles. Example: banana, wheat, maize, rice. Okay, here the maize seed is given, is the monocotyledon. Okay, the endosperm is present. The embryo consisting of two important centers, plumule and radicle. Plumule represents the stem and the radicle represents the root. Okay, so scrotellum is the cotyledon, only one scrotellum is present, so these are called monocotyledons. Then dicotyledons are those plants with two cotyledons in their seeds. They show reticulate venation in the leaves and the taproot system, whereas in monocots fibrous root system. And here the vascular bundles are open type of vascular bundles. Cambium is absent. Okay, less number of vascular bundles are present. Example, grams, mango, apple, etc. Okay, so the seed coat, cotyledons, two cotyledons are present. Okay, so double fertilization and alternation of generation. So each pollen grain produced two male gametes or two male nuclei. Okay, so during the process of fertilization, what happened? The pollen tube, when it fall on the stigma of the flower of the pistil or carpel, the pollen grain germinate to produce a tube-like structure that is called as pollen tube. Into that, through that pollen tube, the two male gametes or male nucleus are introduced into the ovule. One gamete or one male nucleus fuses with the embryo. This is called syngamy. What is syngamy? During the fertilization, one of the male nucleus of the microsporangium or pollen grain fuses with the and form the embryo. It is called syngamy. The other male nucleus fuses with the secondary nucleus or two polar nuclei to form endosperm. This is the second fertilization. Okay, so this is called a triple fusion. Such fertilization takes place twice, or double fertilization it is called as double fertilization, triple fusion. It is the characteristic feature of angiosperms. Okay, next, alternation of generation. What is alternation of generation? So different plant groups complete their life cycle in different patterns. The angiosperms complete their life cycle in two phases, a diploid sporophytes and a haploid gametophyte. The two follows each other. So this phenomenon is called alternation of generation. Life cycles based on alternation of generation, or we can say in plants both haploid and divide by mitosis. So this ability leads to the formation of diploid. The haploid body produces gametes by meiosis. Okay, this plant body represents a gametophyte. Okay, the gametes which are formed by meiosis represent. The following fertilization, the zygote also divides by mitosis to produce a diploid sporophyte. Haploid spores are produced by this plant body by meiosis. Okay, first mitosis, then by meiosis. So these in turn divide by mitosis to form a haploid plant body once again. So thus, during the life cycle of any sexually reproducing plant, there is an alternation of generations between gametophytes, that is a gamete producing haploid gametophyte, and spore producing diploid sporophyte. Sporophyte undergoes sexual reproduction, undergo the sexual reproduction, and the gametophyte involves the meiosis division to produce the gametes, sporophyte to produce the sporophyte is diploid, gametophyte is chromosomes. visuals representing them differ in following patterns. The first one is a haplontic life cycle. What is haplontic life cycle? If the saprophytic generation, actually it's a sporophytic generation, is represented by only one celled zygote, meiosis in zygote results into haploid spores to form gametophytes. So gametophyte is a vegetative phase. For example, Volvox Spirogyra, haplontic life cycle. So actually the sporophytic generation is represented only by the one-celled zygote. There are no free living sporophytes. Meiosis in the zygote results in the haploid spores. The haploid spores divide mitotically and form the gametophyte. The dominant photosynthetic phase in such plants is the free living gametophyte. This kind of life cycle is called as haplontic life cycle. Many algae such as Volvox, Spirogyra and some species of even Chlamydomonas represent this pattern, haplontic pattern. Next, diplontic pattern. So on the other extreme, it is the type wherein the diploid sporophyte is the dominant, the photosynthetic independent phase of a plant. The gametophytic phase is represented by the single to form few celled haploid gametophyte. This kind of life cycle is termed as a diplontic life cycle. All seed bearing plants, that is gymnosperms and angiosperms, represent this diplontic life cycle. The diploid sporophytes is dominant, independent, photosynthetic plants. The gametophyte is represented by a single to few celled. So all seed bearing plants fall under this category. What are they? Angiosperms and gymnosperms. Haplodiplantic. Okay. This category involves the bryophytes and pteridophytes. So interestingly, exhibit an intermediate condition, that is a haplodiplantic condition. Both phases are multicellular, and however they differ in their dominant phases. Okay. And pteridophytes, a dominant independent. So here haplodiplantic example what? Bryophytes and pteridophytes. Whereas a haplontic algae, diplontic. What is the example for diplontic? Diplontic gymnosperms and angiosperms. Whereas haplodiplantic so a dominant independent photosynthetic thallus erect phase is represented by a haploid gametophyte and cellular sporophyte, totally or partially depend on gametophyte for its nutrition. All bryophytes represent this pattern. Which pattern? Haplodiplantic pattern. The diploid sporophyte is represented by a dominant independent synthetic vascular plant body. Autotrophic, independent but short-lived haploid gametophyte. Such pattern is life cycle. All pteridophytes exhibit this pattern. Interestingly, while most algal genera are, some of them such as Ectocarpus, Polysiphonia, kelps are haplodiplantic. Okay, Fucus and algae the diplontic, means all the haplontic, haplo. Okay children, So now come to the important part of the lesson, the role of Linnaeus and biology. Important role in the systematic species. Botanist. Popular is the science of classification. The father of taxonomy is two words and a specific name. As mentioned earlier, the lowest category of classification called as species. Nature. Okay, in the real system, the names, the first part is the generic name, with capital name is and the all by name. So some common name, some mango is the common name. Mangifera indica is the name of a ginger. Is the accepted. No confusion at all. To region, language to language. Okay, but scientific name remains a constant, same. So scientific naming helps in the systematic study of organisms. Okay, scientific name remains the same and hence is easily recognizable. The possibility of confusion due to multiple names given to the organism in different parts of the world is eliminated by scientifically naming the organism. A relationship between the different species of organism in a particular genus can be deduced by scientific so identifying any new organisms discovered. Any incorrect name to a particular organism can be corrected by using scientific naming. The scientific names provided are often descriptive and also indicate some important organisms. These are the advantages of scientific naming. Scientific names provided are often descriptive and also indicate some important characteristics of the organisms. Okay. Then this is the end of the lesson. Please go through the lesson, read the book. Okay, thank you for watching our video.